This week, the Toronto Raptors are celebrating the team's 30th anniversary. And to mark the milestone, longtime Raptors radio voice Eric Smith and co-writer Andrew Bricker are out with a new book highlighting the stories that built Canada's team.
So joining us live now for more on We the Raptors, 30 players, 30 stories, 30 years, is author Eric Smith. Good morning, Eric. Thanks so much for coming in today. And congratulations on this book. I know it was a labor of love.
Yep.
You've been a Raptors fan, a basketball fan, pretty much since you were a kid, saying that, hey, hockey was just not for you because of, the costs, the timing, all that stuff. Basketball, accessible. You had a hoop that was upgraded. But take us to the Sky Dome, that Raptors game when you said it's etched in your mind when they beat Jordan's Chicago Bulls team.
Yeah, it was the only year, really. I was fortunate enough, and I'm lucky enough to say it's the only year I was a fan in the stands. So as a kid that grew up and kind of got hooked on basketball with the Showtime Lakers, there I was in year one in the inaugural season, way out in right field, like a million miles away from the court itself. But just kind of having that love for basketball just rooted even more in my body, and watching Damon Stoudemire, Doug Christie, and the Raptors get that win. And I think it was just kind of a culmination of, as a young fan, finally being able to see the NBA in your city, on the home floor, and then to think just a year later and a couple of years later now working with the team, for the team, around the team, and I've just been able to make a career of it, and it's kind of taken off from there. So it was a way for me to sort of reminisce in a way too through this book, in telling a lot of these stories that kind of came over the 30 years of Raptors basketball.
Yeah, and you just told us, Eric, that you've been working on this book for a couple of years here. What I found interesting about the book is it's not just the all-stars writing chapters, gloriously remembering the Raptors. You've got some of the gritty players, some of the heart players, some of the sort of the bench players, quite frankly. It's not just, and that really paints, I think, a better overall picture of this team.
And that was kind of really the whole point of the book, to be honest with you. Like, if we had a longer time to chat about it, I would go and wax poetic about, as sports fans, we always talk about, in any city, the top 3, the top 5 of all time, who makes the top 10, who's on the Mount Rushmore. We've heard all this, and I say this respectfully, we've heard tons about Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan and Vince Carter and Kawhi Leonard and Chris Bosh. But what's unique, I find, about the Raptors, and even Toronto sports fans in general, when we talk about the Blue Jays and the Leafs and whatnot, fans in the city seem to appreciate the grinders and the glue guys and the bench players and the role players almost as much as the stars. And let's tell the version of the Raptors and their history through their eyes. What about Jose Calderon? What about Jonas Valanciunas? What about TJ Ford and Jerome Williams and Tracy Murray? Those guys, when you would look up into the stands over the years, you would see the number 8 jersey for Calderon and 17 Valanciunas and the number 13 for Jerome Williams, just as much as maybe Lowry's 7 and DeRozan's 10 and Vince's 15. Let's tell their story and tell the version through their eyes. And I think that brings sort of the unique perspective.
Yeah, and you mentioned Kyle Lowry. He wrote the foreword to this book. What have you gotten to kind of learn about him as a player, and why he's called Canada his home now, and why he loves it so much?
I think because he was kind of open to embracing what this city and what this organization, and even the fan base, meant to him. Because Kai would admit as well, when he came to Toronto, he was looking for a home in a sense. He had bounced around a couple of years in the NBA, and he had a bit of a reputation for maybe being a little too tough, or was he, a guy that was maybe tough to work with? Might not have been a fair accusation or label, but when he got here, he really was able to plant some roots. And the life, I think, as a man, as a father, as a husband, let alone as a player, took off for him. And I think having him as the guy that wrote the foreword was important, to get one of those top 5 guys to acknowledge, I'm not here without all of these other dudes that are in this book that, as I just said, were the glue that kind of kept things together over the many generations of the Raptors' existence. So I think, just seeing Kyle and what happened to him is poetic to what happened to so many players over the course of the time.
Yeah, I really like the forward, and these chapters are fascing. Eric, appreciate the time this morning. Thanks for being here.
Appreciate
Good luck with the book.
Thanks so much.
Yeah,
Thanks.
congratulations. Thank you, Eric.